The concept of protecting your assets beyond your retirement years can feel intimidating. It's called estate planning, but it doesn't have to be. I'm here with financial advisor Bill Beyer of Premier Planning Professionals. Bill, when do you like to talk to folks about estate planning? And even before I let you go, is it about a dollar amount? Is it about a complexity of their family? What kicks it off to you like, oh, we got to start talking about estate planning?
Estate planning is one of the most important pieces of planning in general, not just for retirement, no matter what age you are. You know, a lot of it has to do with while you're still living too. If you become cognitively impaired, power of attorneys, having the ability of your spouses or loved ones to make decisions while you're still living, not just on death.
Yeah, it's not just for what we're leaving to that next generation. So do you, I know that you've done some live events. What is the feeling out there about estate planning? Is this something that people like to jump into, or is it, this is overwhelming, I don't even want to talk about it?
It's a very intimidating piece of planning for most folks. We think of the big boardrooms and the law office and, a ridiculous amount of money to do this type of planning. And it's also a sore subject, talking about what's going to happen when we pass away, even though we may not think we're anywhere close to that. So it's a very sensitive subject, but makes it that much more important.
Let's start off with some of the beginning, let's say, legal tools. Having a will. First of all, when folks come into your office, how many people even have a will, and is it updated and timely?
So most people generally know they either need a will or have a will already. And what I like to say is a will is essentially a first-class ticket to probate, right? It's helping direct where your assets are going to go, but it's fully public, fully contestable, and it doesn't really guarantee anything that's going to happen that way. So you got to make sure it's updated, and most of the time take the next step into more advanced planning like trust planning.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for bringing it up. So that was the next step. What determines for you then when somebody needs a trust? I mean, a will, we like to have that for, I say if you got anybody who's over the age of 18, you're married, you should have a will. Everybody, we really need to catch up on that. But what jumps them up to needing a trust? Because I know there's many kinds.
Sure. There's a lot of different types of trust, but the basic one essentially is going to help you avoid probate. It's going to make sure your estate is private and protected from creditors and claims, really. Mm-hmm. So, we've spent our lifetime accumulating assets. Not all of us want everybody out there in the public to know what we have, where it's going, and what we want to have happen. So a trust kind of masks that. And the trust supersedes the will. So, if you haven't updated your will, why pay to update the will when you can maybe form a trust? Makes the will kind of irrelevant. You've got a pour-over will, and everything is dictated very cleanly. You have a trustee opposed to, an executor, kind of the same thing, just a different tool. And it's much cleaner for most folks that have any assets, even just a house. It is the right move.
I once heard a good friend say, if you've got a family member that you don't like, make them the executor of your will. It can be a difficult process because now you're in charge of disseminating what mom and dad wanted. And I don't know, sometimes do all of the kids always get along?
That's a great question, and they don't always do it. A lot of that is determined by the conversations we'll have with you when you're sitting in at the estate planning session, which is maybe we have co-trustees, so that they can work together, or, contingents, so that if one isn't feeling up to the job, then it'll move on to the next one. You can also compensate the people for doing that, where it's commensurate to the work that they do, so that there's some incentive to help kind of lead the charge and make sure mom and dad or, my parents, got the stuff where they wanted to go.
Yeah. Can you tell me, in your retirement test drive, which is part of the process of Premier Planning Professionals that you founded, where does estate planning fit in? Is this something that maybe you start to talk about if somebody's been a client for a few years? Is this actually in the first meeting or two? Where does this fit for you?
So typically on our first discovery meeting, what we do is we sit down and we kind of separate the finance and the retirement planning from the estate planning. And I will give you options whether you want to do one, the other, or both of them simultaneously. Most people choose to do them simultaneously because they're pretty much connected. And you'll be amazed when you start to dig into the finance, you start to ask yourself those questions. Well, where are those assets now going to go? Or I didn't think about that, Bill. And that leads right into the the planning process for the estate.
All right, Bill. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Estate planning might feel overwhelming, and it certainly might seem like it's going to be expensive, but you can get started on a conversation with a financial advisor right here and right now. You can schedule by going to the website right there down on the bottom of the screen, or you can call that phone number as well. And when we have the estate planning conversation, no cost, no obligation. Let's just find out what you're most worried about protecting during your and through the end of your retirement years. Thanks for watching.